The government is probably the biggest threat. The United States knew that. They knew when they drafted a new constitution that their biggest threat was the government. It was this big, massive, whether you called it the crown or the monarchy, but this big body that could take control and power away from the individual, which is why I think, if Alberta were to separate, we need to get away from democracy, in my opinion, of this 51% ruling the other 49. And we have to get back to, I think, that republic, where each individual has rights that need to be preserved and upheld. What are your thoughts on, the structure? Because right now there's a lot of different groups with a lot of different ideas on, what a new Alberta should and could look like. And one of the things for me, again, my biggest fear is that we keep the rot and this bad ideology and this governance by policy instead of governance by principle.
Yeah. Well, there's not much point to Alberta separating if it's going to be if the judges and the police and the crown prosecutors and the education system and the medical system are all corrupted by woke, progressive, racist ideology. It's this neo-Marxist idea that society is perpetual conflict between oppressor and oppressed, right? The old Marxism was that the capitalist bourgeoisie were the oppressors and the workers were the oppressed. And you could explain all of society with this, permanent conflict between bourgeoisie oppressing the proletariat, capitalists oppressing the workers. That's kind of been ditched because it didn't really catch on. But now the neo-Marxism says that society is a permanent state of war, men versus women, straight versus gay, light-skinned versus darker-skinned, et cetera, et cetera. And you've got this, everything is all about oppression. Instead of caring about the human dignity of each individual and say every individual is valuable, precious, created in the image of God, and so we are going to get a better society if every individual cultivates virtue, generosity, kindness, honesty, courage. If we each work on our characters, we're going to have better people, and that's going to result in a better society. But this woke, progressive, neo-Marxist ideology says, no, you don't need to cultivate your character or build up your virtue. You just need to take part in this war of oppression versus oppressors versus oppressed. So all of that to say, if we've got this woke ideology that is entrenched in our legal system and in our education and culture and healthcare and everything else, then really it doesn't matter what country Alberta belongs to, right? Whether it's part of Canada, whether it's its own state. If we still have this neo-Marxist woke ideology that's permeated all of society, it makes almost no difference what Alberta's status is as an independent nation versus a Canadian province.
It's a very sad statement to make, but I think it's very truthful. I think our institutions that for so many Canadians, including Albertans, hold so dear, like healthcare and education, I think those are going to be really difficult to tackle because you have so many intellectuals as well who are, educated and have their degrees and hold positions in society that they have been given the power, that managerial state position where they're the ones making decisions and they honestly believe they know better than the average citizen. It's been my experience, and that's going to be very difficult to tackle.